Our renovations expert will be leading the renovation roadmap, she calls it. Yeah. And the presentation is really, really nice and easy to understand. But, do stop us at any time if you should have to have a question, and we'll try to answer it right away, or we might be able to take it to the next slide if that question happens to be in the next slides. Okay. Thank you very much for joining us. And I'll be kind of like in the background. And yeah, just ask us away. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tiffany. I appreciate it. I also wanted to introduce Judy Kraus. She is on with us as your account manager. So your ICOR has been approved for renovation as a non-delegated correspondent. So Judy will be involved in helping you validate the contractor, getting your loans approved, clearing the loans for conditions. So I'll have Judy chime in on a couple items as we go along. And we are going to talk about the FHA 203K and two conventional products. So let's get started. And again, as Tiffany said, please interrupt me if you have questions. I feel it's best to address your questions as they come up. Or if you prefer to save them to the end, that's fine too. So number one message, I always like to stress that it's important that you understand the product so you know what to expect to tell your borrower, so contractors know what to expect. So expectations and communication really are key to making sure this product runs smoothly. No one likes surprises. So if you can relay that to your borrower and contractor, what they're going to expect from the beginning, all the better. So we're going to talk about that process. I'll show you different forms, how to find a consultant, some repair and product differences. First, let's start off. Let's say you have a first-time or move-up borrower or somebody that's been in your pipeline for more than 45 days. They can't find the house. They could, maybe they should start looking at a different home, a fixer-upper, a handyman special, and do a renovation loan. So it's a great product. We'll talk about some of those differences. At origination, I would like to make sure that you give the borrower one of the two origination docs. I'll show you those forms in detail, but one's the borrower's acknowledgement for the 203K, and one's the consumer tips for the conventional product. So when you have your borrower, and let's say they found a house, you're going to do your normal pre-qualification, or maybe pre-qual them before they find a house to kind of give them an idea of what they can get qualified for. You're going to do your normal credit qualification as far as where do you work, where do you live, how's your credit, income, assets. None of that changes because these are either an FHA loan or a conventional Fannie or Freddie product. But what's different is you're going to calculate a different loan amount, and that's via the Max Mortgage Worksheet. I will show you those worksheets, and I will show you how to calculate them. So you're financing the renovation costs in the mortgage amount. Once you do the worksheet, give them that origination doc I just showed you, and then get into the contractor screening. I'll show you our contractor toolkit and how to what we expect from the contractor. Here's just a close-up of some worksheets. Let's talk about some product solutions. First, we'll do FHA. FHA is the standard, and that's for repairs greater than $35,000 and structural, and the limited is less than $35,000 and no structural. So, as I said, normal FHA credit, income, DTI loan limits, you're going to either have a purchase or limited cash out refinance. These are not cash out refis. Some people think that because there's money being advanced for renovation, that it's a cash out refi. But all renovation costs are either given to the contractor or held in escrow. So you have to adhere to normal limited cash out guidelines. So you can't pay off credit cards. You can only pay off seconds as long as you're following the FHA guide. So keep that in mind. It's for the primary residence, 1 to 4 unit, condo, manufactured homes, and mixed use. You must meet FHA minimum property requirements and no luxury items. For instance, you might need to repair a pool, but you can't install a pool. That would be considered luxury, but repairing is not installing. So a little bit of a difference there. You're allowed 6 months to complete the repairs from closing date, and you calculate your normal upfront MI based on the base loan amount, which I'll show you that when you do the worksheet. A HUD consultant report is needed if the repairs and the finance renovation cost is greater than $35,000 or structural. That would then become a standard when you have that greater than $35,000 or structural. The Fannie and Freddie, similar, but the Fannie can also be combined with the Home Ready product, and the choice can be combined with the home possible product. Those are two nice options. Again, same credit, DTI, loan limits, purchase, limited cash out refis, same exact scenario, no cash out refis allowed. The primary residence allows the 1 to 4, but the second home, of course, is a single unit second home and a single unit investor. You can also include condos and manufactured homes. And luxury items are allowed. This is a product you could install a pool. You want a jacuzzi, you want a sauna, hot tub, as long as it's permanent and adds value to the property. So you're allowed 9 to 12 months. 9 is for the choice, 12 is for the home style. Normal MI, over 80% LTV. The HUD consultant or an approved construction management report is needed if the contractor bid is greater than 35,000 or structural. So the FHA was total repairs and the bid. This is just the actual contractor bid. So that's the difference between the two products. And again, I'm going to show you more details on how to do that when you're looking at the Max Mortgage worksheet and where your numbers come from. So let's talk about FHA first. If you know it's a standard and you need to have a HUD consultant report, you're going to go to HUD.gov. This is a link to help you find consultants, but you really should always go to HUD.gov to find the consultant. And here's a link. If you copy and paste it, that's not working for me. There we go. No, it's giving me a hard time. Let's just go to HUD.gov. So HUD.gov, you can copy and paste it if it works for you. It wasn't working for me right then, but just hit 203K in the search section, and that link that I had will bring you to where I'm looking for it. Sometimes they move around their details, which is why I like to copy and paste that. I know where to find it, but I'm here to help you if you can't find it. But the section you want to find is this one right here, 203K Rehabilitation Mortgage Insurance. So you click on that, and this is the section that I want you to look for. You want to simply look for an approved consultant. Now, the 203K consultant can be used for the FHA 203K, of course, if it's greater than 35,000. Plus, you could also use the consultant for the conventional product. That's perfectly acceptable. And the reason why you might want to use a consultant, just put your state in, make sure it says active, and hit send. You can see these are actual individuals. These are all approved HUD consultants. California has quite a few. I heard somebody said they were in Arizona. You would change it to Arizona if you wanted to look at the Arizona consultants. But you could establish a relationship with the HUD consultant. You'll know what to expect. You'll know what his fees are. I will show you the other inspectors for conventional, but you may not always get the same inspector. So it's your choice if you want to look into finding the other inspectors and what they charge versus a HUD consultant. But this is where you would find them, and it's nice to give them a phone call, establish that relationship. After you get to know them, maybe they might even come in your realtor office and give a presentation for your realtors. So they're a nice resource to get to know a HUD consultant. So go back to that same 203K landing page, and this is where you're going to do the 203 calculator to calculate your loan amount. I really think it's much easier to do it in the calculator in HUD.gov. Your LOS system most likely has the calculator as well if you wanted to do it in there, but eventually when you submit this loan to us to underwrite, once you get your FHA case number, this should be done in the FHA connection. So somebody from your office, maybe an underwriter or a processor, should complete this in the calculator. I'm just going to show you how to do one so that you have an idea how the loan amount is calculated. And what I also want to show you is this is what I like to call my Max Mortgage worksheet, cheat sheet, so to speak. This is a sample doc only. Don't complete anything on this form. This is actually an old worksheet. I just am showing it to you because I put little notes in here to help you out, remind you what gets filled in on the worksheet. So this is something you can refer back to. How much is the contingency? How many inspections? And so on and so forth. It's a nice reference. There's also little notes on here, which are referenced at the bottom, so it might have some information for you to remember to ask things. HUD REO, yes or no. If it's any lead-based paint, it should be prior to 78. Make sure you have the details in the contract for that. So let's go back and do an actual example. You could actually put in the street and borrower's name if you want. Print this when you're done. When you do it this way, before you do it in the FHA calculator, if you close your browser, this goes away. So you might want to print it when you're done with it. So the first one is the opportunity zone. Just click yes or no. We'll do no for this example. 203K.
Hey, Margie.
Again.
Hi,
Yeah.
Margie. Hey, Margie, it's Tiffany. I think your screen is frozen at the 203K mortgage insurance rehab page, and you're in and out. Like your voice, it wasn't very smooth, because I think maybe it has to do with the internet. Your screen is frozen.
Huh? How do I fix that?
I can see your calculator screen.
Perhaps.
So I'm not sure
Yeah, I can see the
what's going
calculator
on.
screen.
Oh.
I can see it too.
Okay, well,
All
then
right,
it must be
Tiffany,
me.
it's all you.
Oh, now I see it.
All right, if somebody
Now I
else
see your
gets,
calculator screen.
you see it now?
Yeah,
Yes.
now I see
Okay.
it, but it was
So
stuck. Yeah.
Okay, this is in HUD.gov, and if you can copy and paste, I'll have to work on this link. I added this link. If you can copy and paste this should bring you to that section. It wasn't cooperating for me before. So let's go back. Here's the calculator screen. So you want to click first, Opportunity Zone, no. 203K, remember I told you limited or standard. You have to sort of have an idea if you're going to be limited or standard. So let's just do a limited. Purchase or refi, these are just simple drop downs. Condo, no. Secondary, no. You can do condos, of course. REO, remember I said we do REO, yes or no? Is it HUD REO? Is it $100 down or not $100 down? This form will calculate your loan amount correctly if you choose the REO, not or yes, $100 down. So let's just do not. And then credit score, of course. EEM, energy efficient mortgage, no for now. We might offer these in the future. Solar and wind, also no. Now, on a purchase, you want to leave this word select here for property acquired. If they've owned it less than or greater than 12 months, there are options to choose here, and just adhere to the loan to value if it's been less than 12 months. But for purchase, we're just going to leave the word select. Hit send. Now your form is set up. First section is step 1. This is the contractor bid. I'm just going to put in $25,000. Architect and consultant fees. These are usually paid for in advance, and you can see it's grayed out on a limited. You can't finance these on a limited because they would not apply. If you had an architect fee for whatever reason, it should be the standard. They're paid for in advance, so if somebody wanted to finance them, this gives them the opportunity of getting reimbursed for those fees. So that's something you might want to have a conversation with the borrower. If they've already paid for them, some people may not want to finance them, so you may not put this on the worksheet, but keep in mind, even if they're not on the worksheet, these are renovation closing costs that you must disclose. Very important. The next step is the draws. On a limited, you only need to enter 2, and each draw, it's a company we use, it's $150 each, so 2 draws is $300. If there was a consultant, again, remember I said you're going to call the consultant. After the loan is closed, we handle the draws for you, but how much are they going to charge? When the report comes in from the consultant, it'll be recapped on his report, but this is your max mortgage worksheet you're doing when you're first taking your loan application. So if you know it's a large project, the max is 5. Maybe the consultant charges $300, so you would put the 5 times $300 in there. So whatever he charges. But right now, the limited only has 2. The title, no matter how many draws, we want 2 title. One is really just an extra, but just in case. So they're $125 each, and that's a company that we use. And then the permit fees, check with your town. There's no chart to look at. Every town might charge something a little bit different. And the next step is the financeable contingency reserves. You should have a minimum of 10%, 15% if utilities are off, or if the consultant states that 15% is needed. So whatever the consultant says is pretty much what he goes, it's his final word on that. But up front, you may not know, but you would have to ask, are utilities on or off? The next section is the financeable origination fee and discount points on just the repair cost and fees. If you are charging discount points. You can finance the portion on just this number here. So before you enter either one of these two numbers, make sure you note this number because it should be calculated on this number. And once you enter something in here, the number will change. So for this purpose, let's say there are no discount points and we just have to finance the origination fee. This is also known as the supplemental origination charge. This is a fee that goes to Planet Home. Once this loan is closed, buy the loan, we start working on the construction, the renovation. It's up to 6 months, and this covers our costs. So this is a origination charge, which offers zero tolerance. So very, very important. You do not forget this. This could be a cure at closing because once you disclose your loan, you cannot go back and add that in. That's a zero tolerance. So all you do is take your step one total right now, 28,550, and times 1.5%. It's $428.25. So this fee is always going to be the greater of $350 or the 1.5%. Obviously, I just told you it's 428 and some odd cents. So add in 428, and you can see you cannot add in cents. So please always round down and not up, because if you round up, you'll be over 1.5%. So here's your total rehab. This is the number you're going to look for. If this was $35,000, this would now be a standard. So then different fees would change possibly. You'd have to go back and make this a standard. We're nowhere near 35,000. We're still limited. You can kind of see the relationship between the contractor bid and this total rehab. The higher this number, the more possible construction, the higher permits probably, the contingency is going to be higher, everything's going to be higher. So the higher you go, maybe 30, 31,000, the closer you're going to get to $35,000. But we're still at a limited, we're still good to go. So let's put in a purchase price of 300. This inducements to purchase are above the normal seller contribution, as is appraisal. Now you see it says when and as is appraisal is performed. You do not need one on a purchase. Do not put a value in there or they'll be looking for a second appraisal. Properties owned less than 12 months do need an as is appraisal. You can have the same appraisal done by the same appraiser, same appraiser can do the as is appraisal or the after. He can do both. Obviously you have to use different comps, of course. And then FHA assumes that your adjusted as is value is your purchase price. See, this just got brought down. So it's the same as is value is purchase price. Appraised value, this is the number. What's the house going to be worth after all the repairs are completed? It's kind of be a guess. Talk to the realtor. You're buying something for 300. You're putting 25 in. Is it a very distressed property? What's the neighborhood dictate based on renovating this? Is it going to be worth, 3.25? Is it going to be worth 400? I'm just going to put 400 in here to show you what happens when you have a higher value than purchase. And that does happen sometimes. You buy a distressed property, fix it up a little bit. It's worth a lot more. You get built-in equity. Not a bad deal, right? So here's how the loan amount's calculated. The adjusted as is value, which again was the purchase price, plus the step one total, which is your renovation. You can see simple math, 300 plus the reno, this 28 number here. And then FHA takes your after value times 110%. This is just part of the calculation. You're not getting 110 loan to value. So which one's lower? Of course, acquisition. So acquisition gets brought down. And there's your normal 96.5% loan to value. Your borrower is still putting down 3.5%, but the 3.5% now comes from the purchase plus the finance renovation costs. So this is your base loan amount. This is what you're going to enter in your LOS. So always enter purchase price is purchase price, your after value is your after value, and your base loan amount is your loan amount. You're going to figure your upfront MIP on this number here like you would any other loan. And when you enter it, sometimes your LOS might show like a negative loan to value or down payment, and that's okay. That's why you do the Max Mortgage Worksheet. Now, to complete this form, you have to put in the nationwide mortgage limit for your county, whatever it is. Just put it in from the chart for the high balance, because you could do high balance loans on this product as well, too. Let me point out, too, that if borrower wanted to bring the contingency with their own funds, you don't have to finance it, but we still have to hold it in escrow. You would put those funds here. So rather than putting them above, put them down here. But let's just leave it financed for the example. Hit send. If everything was entered correctly, you get a yellow check mark. If there was an error, you'd have like a little red stop sign looking figure here, and your errors would be listed at the bottom. down here, and you just hit the back button and go ahead and correct them. But now your form's completed. This is all your additional renovation closing costs that have to be disclosed on your LE. I have a fee chart to show you where they go. Your loan amount's been calculated. One other very important item I want to show you is the step 5 total. This is important that you disclose the correct MIP factor. If you ever had a property where the value was much higher than acquisition, your MIP is actually going to be based on this number right here, 79.36. So less than 80 gives you a better factor, and it's actually cancelable, I believe, after 11 years. So that's a nice option. So it's important that you have the right MIP factor when clearing the loan for purchase. If it's not correct, Judy will get on you to make sure you correct it. And then this is the normal case loan to value. Did anybody have any questions on the FHA Max Mortgage Worksheet?
Yeah, I just had one question.
Sure.
The top part of it, there was the financeable origination fee, right?
Mhm.
Now, is that like if we as the loan company are charging an origination fee that it can be financed into the loan, or is that something separate in regards to the contractor?
If you're charging an origination charge, you cannot finance it. This is a fee that goes to Planet Home.
Oh,
And
gotcha. Okay.
this is for our overhead. So this is an additional origination fee. And this fee, as I said, is based on this number. Your origination fee possibly might be based on a loan amount, or you charge a flat fee, whatever. That's something different. So that's definitely something you have to disclose.
Yeah. And what was
Okay.
that percentage again of the rehabilitation cost that goes into the origination fee, so we calculate it correctly?
There's a couple places that you're going to have that as a reference. First, my little cheat sheet, let's call it. Remember everything I just went over is listed here for you as a reference. Inspections, title, draws, whatever applies. Here's that supplemental origination fee. They call it a financial origination fee, but they used to call it supplemental origination fee. It's kind of like potato. It's the same fee. Greater of 350 or 1.5% of B10. And B10 is all the totals here. Or when you're doing the form and the calculator, before you enter this fee, there'll be a total here. So just calculate it based before you enter this. You'll calculate it from here.
Awesome. That was explained perfectly. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm glad. It can be confusing. But as another reference, let me show you the TRID fee matrix. And it's in a couple places. So this will also apply for the conventional product. Shows you the fee. Now that fee you were just referencing, the supplemental origination fee, see we referenced 203K here, tells you if it's APR, tells you the disclosure section A. This is at 0 tolerance. Don't forget it, because it's going to be a cure at closing. Where's it going to come from? It might come from your commission. I don't want to see that happen. And then I just told you again, here it is, 1.5% of total rental costs, or 350, whichever is greater. So it gives you the description here. But while we're looking at this, it goes all the other fees, permit, if there's a consultant, the draws, it's self-explanatory what's needed, kind of gives you the description. It's pretty much what I went over. You've got each section for the 203K standard, the limited, conventional, and home style and choice, what's required and when. Talking about the origination charge, when we look at the conventional is the same thing, goes in section A, 0 tolerance. This one is slightly different. This one is 1.5% of the hard cost, just the contractor bid, or $500, whichever is greater. So slightly different. And I will show you the the Max Mortgage worksheet now to see the difference. Their worksheet might be actually a little bit simpler. This is Fannie's worksheet. We ask that you use the worksheet, and we have revised their worksheet to show it, not revised it, just put it in an Excel format, so it's easier to fill out. The refi section is still being worked on. I can still help you if you have a refi. You can fill it in, and wherever you see like a little red triangle, if you put your cursor over it, you see it gives you a description. So here's where you're going to put your LTV. I'll talk about this section when I show you an example that's completed. This is your property information. What's the purchase prices of a purchase? If it's a refi, what do they owe? Again, eligible liens. Remember, if it's a second mortgage that was not acquired with the purchase, you can't pay that off. That's a normal rate term refi, limited cash out refi, Fannie guide. This is the after value from the appraiser. And then the same thing like the 203K contractor bid. But again, On the conventional, you'll know immediately if you have a bid over 35,000. It's not the total on the bottom here like the FHA. You'll know immediately if it's over 35,000, you need that work write-up from the FHA HUD consultant or one of the management companies that I'll show you the list for when we get to further into the program here. Contingency, same difference, 10%, 15 if utilities are off, or whatever the consultant says. Consultant and architect fees, if applicable, if they want to get reimbursed, put it on here. Inspections, max of 5, just like the 2 or 3K. If no consultant, then 2 times 150, same. You can see the similarities here. But this one has one other difference. We want you to include the cost of the 1004D in this section. Fannie and Freddie both would like a final inspection done after all the repairs are completed because your appraisal is subject to repairs. We will call you or the escrow department will order it for you, but we collect the money here so that there's no additional cost coming out of the borrower. You know, this one could be 9 or 12 months later on the conventional product. The title update statements 2 times 125. Permits, check with town. Reserves up to 6 months PITI. Also, you could do that on the 203K if I didn't mention that. That would have to be confirmed by the consultant. So you could not finance any mortgage payments if there's no consultant or work write-up. And then finally, this last important origination fee, it says other. I've looked at these worksheets for people that are just learning and they forget to put this fee in here. Just because it says other, it's a very important other fee. This is where that draw management fee goes, the greater of 500 or 1.5% of the contractor bid, and that's a zero tolerance fee. So there's a sample for you to help you out. And here's a completed form to show you what it looks like. Let's say we're doing a 90, put your loan to value here. Purchase price, after value, and then all those fees we went over are totaled. And this form actually totals it for you. You just have to do the math to enter them in here correctly. And then same thing, the loan amount is based on the lower of acquisition or after value. So the purchase price plus the improvements is lesser than the after value. And because I put a 90 in, here's your purchase loan amount. So this number here is 90% of acquisition, 361. Now, one little trick when you enter this in your LOS, you're going to enter, like I said, purchase price is purchase price, after value, and loan amount is loan amount. Now, when you enter a home style, your loan amount, you can see even for the FHA, your loan amount's higher than your purchase price. Again, that's okay. And when you run your findings, there's no box to check home style. So it's important that you don't change your loan amount based on the percentage you want, because your LOS will base it on your 300 purchase price like you normally do, correct? So just know that it will work if you enter the fees as they are listed, purchase price, after value, loan amount. But take this number here, your total rehab, total alterations, and bring that to your, it's now called your L4 screen. Details of, it used to be the details of the transaction, L4B like boy. If you put that in the alteration section here, your findings will recognize this as a home style loan. It'll take a couple times maybe, but I'm here to help you if you have any questions when it comes time for that. But then you can see this is your 10% down payment based on what I entered. You know, you could do it at 95, you could do it at 80, whatever you change it here. All the numbers up here are going to change as well. Any questions on the home style worksheet? Okay, great. While we're talking about worksheets, not to confuse you, but Freddie has this different one, but believe it or not, it's the same exact calculation. It's just different format. This is still fillable, but this one does not calculate the percentages or add anything up. You have to manually do it. But it's the same thing, utilities, inspections, everything's the same. Here's the cheat sheet, tell you what to put in here. And then this is, I did a 90%. So again, it's acquisition or value, whichever is less. One additional thing up here, you'll see both the worksheets have this max renovation cost. This is not a loan to value calculation. This is just showing the percentage of the renovation cost to whatever you're using to determine your loan amount. They do not want the total renovation, which is this number here, total renovation, to be more than 75%. In this case, we used acquisition to determine the loan amount. You can see we're nowhere near 75% of this here. So it's just a check that Fannie and Freddie would like you to do. Okay. let's talk about the contractor toolkit. So you've taken your loan application, you've disclosed, you've got the LE issued, and you want to make sure the contractor gets the contractor toolkit completed as soon as possible. As a non-delegated correspondent for the renovation, we are going to validate the contractor for you. So all you have to do is send this to the contractor, ask him to please complete it. It is a fillable doc. Here's some information for him to read through so again he understands, knows what to expect, communications and expectation. Have him sign where indicated, profile his company information, make sure he's listing only one company. Some contractors might have a couple companies and they might list different ones. Experience, references, insurance, make sure he answers these questions.
And then Maria showed me another section.
Make sure there's 3 years experience. This is information on any licensing needed. He would have to indicate what's needed. Permit information, what's needed for permits. Make sure the yes or no is checked on all the boxes. And this, the borrower and the contractor should sign.
Yeah, CC Suresh and Suresh.
The W-9. And again, this is just you getting the information, and you're going to be sending this to Judy. Judy is going to validate the contractor for you, but you have to get the docs to her as soon as possible. And then here's a little checklist for you to make sure everything's been returned. But you do need to ask the contractor for his insurance, his license, and the bid proposal. Make sure the bid breaks down labor and material, and make sure the contractor and the borrower sign the bid. And then the rest of the docs are at the back here. Everything is on the checklist. Now, should you have a 203K, we will need the homeowner contractor agreement signed by contractor and borrower. I would suggest that someone from your office complete this because the contractor may not fill everything out properly. And then email it because it's all fillable. If it's conventional, though, we want you to use this renovation contract, and this is Fannie's Form 3730, and they show it like this with this model document, first paragraph here. We do ask that you remove this either by your doc prep company removing it or convert this to a Word doc, and then you can remove that first paragraph. We don't want the borrower and contractor signing it with that model document information at the top. And this is not fillable, so this would have to be filled out. You could print it, or I guess you can't type it. Nobody's got typewriters, but just that it would have to be filled out. And that's something possibly you should fill out for the contractor as well to help him out. Let me show you a couple of those origination docs I first referenced. Before I go on, Judy, I'm sorry. Did you want to indicate maybe when they should get that to you, the contractor toolkit?
As soon as possible. Prior to, ordering your appraisal and everything, you should get all these contractor docs and stuff from them and signed and executed and then uploaded to our system. You can email me when they're uploaded so I can make sure the validation piece gets started. If it is sent in for underwriting and this is missing, it will be suspended. Same thing, if you're missing the subject to appraisal, it'll be put in suspense. So these are very key items that need to be worked on very early on in the process and sent in to us. Again, email me when you do that because there won't be like any notification in the system to tell me that you uploaded contractor docs. So shoot me an email. That way I can get it started pretty quick. The validation piece really doesn't take very long at all, 24 to 48 hours. So it can get done quickly. That way you know whether you can continue on with that contractor or you might need to get a new one or if docs are expired, et cetera, et cetera. They just know that, early on in your process.
Thanks, Judy. And just so you have
Sure.
Judy's contact information, I'll send this here. So here's her contact information. Anything Reno questions, please forward to myself. Carol's an additional account manager. You might see information from her if Judy's out, but please just use Judy as your main contact for the contractor validation or questions on your conditions. If you needed access to the portal, your admins are the ones that give you access. This is a team that would help if there's any issues. And of course, you'll notice we have a scenario desk here, but this is only for like credit questions, anything renovation related, please reach out to myself. There's a lot of other useful information on this form too, so I'll make sure we send that to you. And remember I said the initial origination doc, here's what the 203K borrower's acknowledgement looks like. might not be a bad idea to read through it so that you understand. So in turn, you can explain it to the borrower. And if you have any questions, of course, let me know. It's always important that they know what's going to be happening. Let me show you the consumer tips. This is the conventional. Same thing, just makes this is for the choice or the home style. Make sure they're aware of the process. You could even show this to maybe a realtor or the contractor, just has more information so they understand the process. But this is for the borrower. Also wanted to let you know, here's a little bit of a fee schedule so you know what the borrower to expect up front. If they have a $50,000 to $75,000 addition, renovation, whatever they're doing, this is the approximate fee which the consultant's going to charge. Or one of those management companies for the conventional, they should be similar, up to $100,000, but projects can be more than $100,000. We sometimes see projects that are $200,000 and $300,000. So as long as the value is there, depending what they're doing, they can go as high as they want, whatever needs to be renovated. It's all going to be based on value. That's why, as Judy indicated, it's very important that when you submit your loans, we have that appraisal before you submit to underwriting. So the contractor toolkit could be first, and then, of course, the full submission process. And if by chance you don't have the toolkit until you're ready to submit for underwriting, still let Judy know that that toolkit is there so she can pull it out and start working on her process as soon as possible. But again, like she said, it's better that you send that in to us as soon as possible to get the project started right away. Let's see what else I wanted to show you. Okay, this is a nice comparison matrix that I will be sending to you as a reference, so you can compare each program side by side. Just anything that applies, the types and properties. It's just a nice reference, so you don't have to look up a different matrix. But you'll notice that overlays are in bold green text. There's not a lot of bold green here, so it's just like a nice reference as minimum repairs. Everything can have high balance. The contingencies. I think, where's the one thing? Self-help. This is an overlay. We do not allow self-help for any loan. So if a borrower is a contractor and they want to do the work, they cannot. So they have to get their own contractor. So it's a nice reference for you. Hopefully you find that helpful for you. We also put out a renovation review edition every month. These are tips. I think the first edition is very useful because contractors always want to know if funds can be dispersed at closing. So this is a nice reference to show you how much money they could possibly get at closing if this is what you want to disperse, and make sure you list it on the CD, and any money dispersed should be a two-party check to the borrower and the contractor. So the limited is 50% of the materials and labor plus any fees on that worksheet. The 203K standard is slightly different, and it's very important. Of course, certain fees could be dispersed that I referenced, but the standard can only advance materials for items that have been prepaid or on specialty order. So we'll be looking for receipts or invoices. So keep that in mind. Most contractors should have a line of credit at their lumberyard or Home Depot or whatever. So hopefully they'll understand the process. And it's important that they understand that they're being hired by Mr. and Mrs. borrower, not Mr. or Mrs. homeowner. So what they might have been used to, if they're not familiar with this type of product, it's important they understand the product and let them know that we have to pay them. So money's held in escrow. They just have to do the work. Now, again, the Fannie Mae home style and the choice, very similar. You can advance up to 50% of the material, plus a portion of that 50% could pay for architect and any fees that I indicate on the Max Mortgage worksheet. But make sure the total is never over 50%, otherwise you have a non-saleable loan. So this is a nice reference I think you'll find to have handy if a contractor is asking about money to be dispersed. The second edition was some best practices for after post-closing. We handle all the draws, but you might want to have a phone call to the consultant and say, listen, this loan is closed. Money was advanced. I want to let you know that work's going to begin. So put it on your list to start doing inspections. We will handle all draws. It's just kind of a courtesy so that he knows if he doesn't have a phone call, he may not know. Want to make sure that he's aware. And then the last one, we'll be having our January edition soon, is contractor screening. Making sure you've got the right contractor, as I've kind of mentioned throughout this presentation, is very important. So these hopefully will find useful for you. Back to my presentation. So this is about ordering the appraisal. If you're going to get the contractor bid. This is for the limited or the home style without the work write-up or the choice. Make sure you have that contractor bid. And when you order the appraisal, you want to include the contractor's bid in the appraisal. So you order the appraisal subject to the repairs on the contractor report. Just let the appraiser know that. However, if it's the standard or the home style or choice, where you need the work write-up, otherwise known as the specification of repairs, you must order that first. Then you're going to order your appraisal and include the specification of repairs, the work write-up in the appraisal report. So that's important. The appraiser knows that it's a renovation loan, let them know which type it is, and ask them to include that work write-up in the appraisal report. So you've got your loan cleared to close. The approval would have been issued. Any conditions are cleared. Judy issues the final clear to close. You'll have your final max mortgage worksheet completed. All contracts are in place with the contractor, and your closing CD is issued, and you close your loan like you would close any other loan. And then post-closing, you ship the loan to us. We purchase the loan, and we have a welcome call. Our escrow department will call somebody and welcome them. And the contractor and borrower provide all the building permits. Work should begin within 30 days of closing. Believe it or not, the permits are probably not available on the purchase until after closing because towns don't issue permits to somebody who doesn't own a home. And refis, they may not obtain the permits until after closing if it's a large project, for instance, and maybe they're quite costly. So it's important that everybody understands they need to get those permits and start the work within 30 days as soon as possible. Make sure you rely on myself. If you need assistance with the Max Mortgage Worksheet, I'm here to help you. I would like you to send me what you think you've completed, and I'll look it over and help you do it. If you need any help with the first couple of LEs, Judy is happy to look at your LE with the Max Mortgage Worksheet. Make sure you're sending it to her as soon as it's available, before you send it to the borrower, because if something has to be corrected, it has to be do it before you send it to the borrower. So we're here to help in any way, and just want to let you know. Any questions? No questions? So I just threw out a lot of information at everybody, and I'm sure you will have questions in the next day or two, or even when we end the call, and please do not hesitate to reach out. I know it's a lot if you haven't done any renovation loans, but to simplify it, just remember it's a regular FHA loan or a regular conventional loan. You're calculating the loan amount differently. You have additional fees to disclose. And then you have some contractor docs. So to get started correctly, always make sure the Max Mortgage Worksheet is done to begin with, to take your loan application, so that you're disclosing your LE properly. And if you do it in those steps, I think you'll have no trouble at all, and you'll get through it. As a side note too, what's the difference in the products and the renovations that can be done? The conventional, you can do whatever you want. As I indicated before, luxury items, as long as it's permanent and as long as it adds value. FHA, you can't do luxury items. And of course, if the appraiser has minimum property requirements, you have to adhere to those requirements. Same with conventional too, if the appraiser comes back with repairs. So keep that in mind. Another example, you can tear down a home for 2 or 3K as long as you're using the entire existing foundation, but you can't do that for conventional. So sometimes you might have little examples of repair questions coming in that you're not familiar with. You can always reach out to me and I'll let you know what they would be.
I have a question. Are we going to get a copy of this PowerPoint? Yes, for future.
Yeah, I will be sending everything that we went over at the call. All docs, even my sample, my little cheat sheet worksheets as I call them.
Because it is a lot of information. So thank
Yes,
you.
I know, it's overwhelming if you have, has anybody on the call ever done a renovation loan?
No.
Okay, well, again, we're here to help. So, the first step, like I said, you have to know, is renovation needed to the property? Here's another question I get a lot, believe it or not. Somebody says, oh, I have a borrower, they're buying a home, there's nothing wrong with it. It just looks like it's from the 70s or 80s. Can you renovate it? Of course. Doesn't have to. That's I want to renovate it. So something that looks like it's from the 70s or 80s, it's probably being sold below market, right? Because it's not up to date. There's nothing wrong with it. Everything works. But sure, you can renovate it. You know, new kitchens, new bathrooms, not a big deal. Do one or the other. New flooring, you know, new siding, new windows. You know, maybe the windows are old and leaky and whatever. So whatever you want to do is fine.
And I'm just going to throw my 2 cents in there.
Sure.
This is Judy, your account manager. These are different loans, but if you follow the procedures, that Margie pointed out, get the fees out correctly, ask the right questions, set the right expectations, make sure the contractor really understands how this particular program works. They are not that difficult. The first few might be a little difficult, just getting the docs, getting signatures, understanding how you have to do the LEs and, our underwriting process, but please give them a try. They are really a worthwhile product. And once you do a few of them, it gets much easier.
I agree. Thanks, Judy.
Sure.
I wouldn't say difficult. I'm going to say different.
Different, yes. Different's a better word.
I'd like to say, remember, go back to when did you do your very, very first loan application? Did you know what you were doing? Was it easy? But then you did your second, you did your third. You're like, all right, I got this, and that's all it is. It's just something different. But it's still a loan. It's still, like I said, FHA or conventional. That stuff doesn't change. Make sure on your for DU that you have to request us as a sponsor if you haven't done that already. In the drop down, so you have to go to Fannie Mae to get that done. Because the DU would have DO when you run a BDO would have to be assigned over to us for the underwriters to underwrite the file.
And on the FHAs, you do need to assign the case number over to us at some point as well.
And as a matter of fact, thanks, Judy. This one form, the first form I showed you, somewhere on here is the FHA number, right?
I believe so.
Is it right? Right here. Right here, see it?
The 27128 and 4 zeros and a 9, I believe. That's the one.
Right. So that it's there when you do your FHA case number, you have to assign it over to us.
And I'll point
Anyway.
out one other key with that. When you're doing that assignment, some of our other non-Dells have run into trouble. You need to use your EIN number when you're doing the case number, not your actual FHA ID number. So if you're having an error message or something that pops up and, excuse me, and you used your FHA number, try your EIN number and see if it works.
Good to know. That's Judy's area. I don't get involved with that.
Yeah.
That's why we work as a team to help you out. Whatever you need, just let us know. But all these docs I went over, I will definitely be sending them over, the presentation, and you know what? Take one of the worksheets and just do a sample and see how you come up with. If you want me to look at your sample just to see if you did it properly or not. Okay, any other questions? Well, if no other questions, I want to thank you for joining. Thank you, Tiffany, for setting up iCore Lending. And Judy, thank you. And please feel free to reach out.
Thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone, for your time
Thank
today.
you.
Have a good
Take
afternoon.
care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.